वंदे गुरून् ईश भक्तान्
वंदे गुरुन् ईश भक्ता
ईशम् ईशावतारकान्
ईशावतारकान्
तत्प्रकाशांस्तचत् शक्ति
तत्प्रकाश तत्प्रकाशां ततश्चक्ति
कृष्ण चैतन्य सम्यकम्.
कृष्ण चैतन्य सम्यकम्.
Yes,
Translation.
Prabhu.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnation, his plenary portion, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Purport. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has composed a Sanskrit verse for the beginning of his book, and now he will explain it in detail. He offers his respectful obeisances to the six principles of absolute truth. Gurun is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scripture is accepted as a spiritual master. Although others give help in showing the way to beginners, the Guru who first initiates one with the Maha Mantra is to be known as the initiator. And the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. The initiating and the instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. Their function is to guide the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted Nityanand Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis in the category of Guru. Isha Bhaktan refers to the devotees of the Lord like Sri Srivasa and all other such followers who are the energy of the Lord and are qualitatively non different from him. Isha Khan refers to the Acharyas like Advaita Prabhu, who is an avatar of the Lord. Tat Prakashan indicates the direct manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nityanand Prabhu, and the initiating spiritual master. Tat Shakti refers to the spiritual energies, Shaktis of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar, Damodar, Jagadananda belong to the category of internal energy. The six principles are differently manifested, but all equally worshipable. Krishna Das Kaviraj begins by offering his obeisances onto them to teach us the method of worshipping Lord Chaitanya. The external potency of Godhead, called Maya, can never associate with the Lord, just as darkness cannot remain in the presence of light. Yet, darkness being but an illusionary and temporary covering of light, has no existence independent of light. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hmm. So, hmm. See, the Supreme Lord manifests in all these forms to just attract the living entity. Actually, if you see, Krishna has nothing to do with all this world. He's Atmaram, he's satisfied in his spiritual manifestation. So, why he wants to appear here? So, this is especially Krishna's mercy only for the Supreme Lord, for the living entity, that he manifests in so many forms. In so many forms, he appears just to attract the living entity back to this material world. So, Gurun is plural number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on revealed scriptures is accepted as spiritual master. So, यहाँ पर ना, bro, there's one very important point that the one, see, uh, who first initiates one with Maha Mantra is to be known as initiator, and the saints giving instructions for progressive advancement of Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. So, this was the point that Bhanu Swami was also raising actually, that one who initiates with the holy name. That's why in Ramanuja and Madhva Sampradaya, they accept Ramanuja and Madhva only as initiating spiritual master. They have introduced this Tattva Siddhant. So everyone is a guru, but Acharya remains only one. So actually, even within ISKCON, it's like now become quite confused, but everyone was initiated on behalf of Srila Prabhupada in the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, early 90s, and 80s. Because Srila Prabhupada in that way is the founder Acharya. He has brought this Maha Mantra to us. We are propagating it. Like I'm not able to give faith in Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to anyone. They develop faith when they study Prabhupada's books. The instructions that we give for a devotee to become Krishna conscious are actually coming from Prabhupada. We just give those instructions as it is. One can initiate when one has seen Krishna. When one is endowed with the energy of Krishna, then one can initiate. So initiation term is actually, I would say this whole terminology is very confusing right now. So initiation, like, initiation means to, develop the faith in the holy name, in the heart of a living entity. But for that, one must be self-realized himself. So then there are Shiksha Gurus. So everyone who helps one propagate, help one's propagation in this process. That's the Shiksha Guru. And they are both considered on the same platform. Initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they may have they have different dealings. Their function is to guide conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. So the point is here, Prabhu, that one is not acting out of ahankara, sense of false pride and false ego, that I am guiding this living entity back to Godhead. No, living entity is guided by Krishna only. So the Shiksha Gurus, Diksha Gurus, they accept their position only as servitors of the Lord. And then they just help the living entity progress further and further. And Isha Bhaktan, all the devotees, those who are, so what we mean here is pure devotees, all the pure devotees of the Lord, they are Isha Bhaktans, Isha Avatarakan, who's the avatar, the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, and internal energies. Tat Prakashan refers to direct manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nityananda Prabhu, and the initiating spiritual master. So Diksha Guru is actually an incarnation of the Lord Himself, Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will describe in the later verses. So Diksha Guru, initiating spiritual master, and all this should not be taken lightly. Actually, this Dr. Lakshmi Tatacharya of Sri Sampradaya, he said that the first qualification of an acharya is that he doesn't want to be an acharya. He is self-illuminated, he's manifested, but he doesn't want to take that position. So we see, like in our movement also, Srila Prabhupada, like, did not really want to be a spiritual master. He did it because nobody from Gaudiya Math would volunteer to come. He actually wanted Sridhar Maharaj to come to America and start initiating. He just wanted to assist the Gaudiya sannyasis. He didn't want to initiate anybody. But when in 90s, from 66 to 68, Prabhupada was just struggling, but nobody came. Then in 68, Prabhupada himself started initiating finally. So one has to be very careful. And most important consideration here is, and this I'm quoting Tamal Krishna Goswami here, that whether you are a spiritual master or you are a Ritvik, you must be appointed by Srila Prabhupada himself. The spiritual master, either physically or in the dream, must manifest and instruct the disciple to become a spiritual master. So these are all technicalities, but very important ones. One cannot just decide that, okay, now I'll be a spiritual master. It doesn't work that way. One has to be authorized. Otherwise, the one who's trying to initiate will become drowned in the sinful reaction of all his disciples. Because as soon as he initiates, he'll start accepting their worship. And as soon as he accepts their worship, he must accept their sinful reactions. So it's a very dangerous process. It's a very dangerous position. That's why even in the Gaudiya history or history of entire Vaishnavism, spanning all the four sampradayas, you see that there have been very few initiating spiritual masters. And either there have been very few, or if there have been many, then most have fallen down because it's a very dangerous position. So all the manifestations of the Lord, whether we are talking of the Supreme Lord Himself or His direct expansions like Nityananda Prabhu, His incarnations like Advaita Acharya, or His devotees like Srivas Thakur, or His internal energies like Gadadhar Pandit, Damodar Das Pandit, and Jagadanand Pandit, all these are equally worshipable because these are manifestations of the Lord. And why are these manifestations? To assist the living entity in going back to Godhead. So only manifestation which is not worshipable is Maya because we are worshipping it by default. So whenever we are making any effort in the material direction, whether it is family or profession or education for bodily maintenance, all that is essentially worship of Maya. So wherever there is Krishna is not present, Maya is present. Krishnera bahirmukh hai bhog vancha kare, nikatestha Maya tara japatiya dhare. So living entity must be in love with something. Either it will be Krishna or it will be Maya. Living entity cannot live in isolation as Mayavadis think. Brahma Nirvana. There is no Brahma Nirvana. That's a very temporary position if one is not attracted to either Krishna or to Maya. So if one achieves Brahma Nirvana but is not attracted to Krishna, he'll again become attracted to the material energy. Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, Prabhupada repeatedly says this about this uh,
Huh.
eh, people who are attracted to the Brahman effulgence of the Lord.
Hmm.
They, if they, because they are attracted and they want to become one with the Lord, eventually they fall down by becoming philanthropists, educationists, and all
Hmm.
those stuff. Oh, but I don't know what is the reason that they fall down to become philanthropists. Because do they find that attractive and they become attracted by like doing some social service and some kind of a thing like that, or why is it that they become these philanthropists or something else?
See, Prabhu, to achieve Brahman also one has to be in Sattvagun, in the mode of goodness.
Okay.
And mode of goodness means that one will be generous, one will be, large-hearted, generous personality. But in the absence of spiritual qualification, one will try to do activities of goodness on the material, mundane platform. So,
Okay.
in the absence of any genuine spiritual activity, the only thing that is left to do in goodness is philanthropy. So, because living entities are suffering, but a Brahmavadi doesn't really understand what is the cause of this suffering, that is ignorance of the Lord. So, whether it is like a genuine person or not a genuine person, this person just wants to do some charity. Therefore, they become philanthropists. That's why you see, Prabhu, this Ram Krishna mission or Chinmaya mission. They have hospitals, orphanages, widow homes, and so many things because
Mm.
they have no idea what to do with the material wealth. So, I mean, of course, nowadays ISKCON also, but the purpose of ISKCON was to propagate books. So, Prabhupada always used to say, as much as possible, try to print books and distribute. So, in America, in the 1960s, when book distribution actually started, there were no fixed prices. Books were given and donations were collected. And generally, because America was very wealthy in the 60s, the donations were quite generous. So, like a
Mhm.
book which was worth $1 would be sold for $10, $15. People really found them very useful. People found them very helpful. So they managed to get good donations, and that's how ISKCON actually grew so large.
Mhm.
Now we don't have any of that. Now we're just like selling books, and we are just opening temples and temples. So actually, the whole idea of ISKCON is very changed now. This is not the ISKCON that Srila Prabhupada created in that sense. So so
Surprising. Yeah.
Brahmavadis also. Yes, bro.
Any surprising program. Yeah.
Because I had the good fortune of meeting a number of Srila Prabhupada's old disciples. So now I'm seeing that actually this is not even the ISKCON that Srila Prabhupada created. Prabhupada never wanted it this way. So like Grihasthas, sannyasis, brahmacharis, they lived on an equal platform in those days.
Mm.
And not only that, they were quite active devotionally.
Mhm.
So they like in the sense that Grihasthas are also into book distribution, Sankirtan and everything. Now, now we don't even know, like, we have never done any Sankirtan as such anymore now as Grihasthas.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, here
Hmm.
this said, Prabhupada is saying initiating and instructing masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna. So,
Hmm.
how do we understand it? Equal in sense. So
Hmm.
the normal norm how the people nowadays follow is they always keep the initiating guru very top. Yeah, they have
This is foolishness.
all respects
That's an
for.
ignorance of the scriptures.
Uh,
That's an ignorance of scriptures. Actually, today, 99% of people in ISKCON don't even have any spiritual idea. I mean, initiation is taken as a formality, as like a matter of pride. Now I'm initiated. That is nonsense. Initiation means the end of material life. One who takes initiation should be ready to end material life.
mm,
So, initiation today has no meaning. I mean, Haldar Swami himself said that. His Holiness Haldar Swami has said that. Bhanu Swami has said that. But today, initiation has no meaning. People are just taking nonsense initiations. They don't want to change their lifestyle. They just want a medallion, dasi. And they'll be aggressive, angry, this and that. Nonsense. That has no meaning, Prabhu. See, Prabhu, it's like this. That you go to say Baba Saheb Gowda Institute of Technology. You can get a degree in engineering. But what will be the worth of that degree? That person will have no knowledge of anything that he has studied because he has just like memorized some bare minimum things to clear the exam. That knowledge will be practically zero. So, like that, just taking an initiation for formality, wearing dhoti, sari, tilak, and all that, that has no value. Those are just external formalities. Unless one is thoroughly uh, grounded in scriptures, one is following proper rules and regulations, one is convinced about Krishna consciousness, one is convinced that this material life is miserable, the initiation will have no meaning. In the next birth, they will even forget that they were in ISKCON or anything. Krishna is very kind. He will not send them to hell or anything, but he will just keep them out of the movement. Then they'll have no idea of Vaishnava life. See, Prabhu, this has to be taken very seriously. Otherwise, the process will have no meaning at all. And Krishna, it's an offense to Krishna.
yes, Prabhu.
So, Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru are the same because what is their purpose? Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru are not here to just collect your donations, to take your respect and just, be your master. No, their job is to guide you back to Godhead. Please do this. This is beneficial. This is what you should do. This is what you should not do. So,
Prabhuji, just to add to what you are telling,
hmm,
I was just reading this. I'm right now currently reading this
hmm,
16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto.
hmm,
उसमें there is one verse 6:16:41. It
hmm,
speaks about Bhagavad Dharma. And somehow I
yeah,
felt Prabhupada has put the essence of ISKCON and the preaching mission in that particular
hmm,
purport. ऐसा लगा मुझे. So
hmm.
anyway, whenever we have time, probably you can please kindly explain because that's very elaborate purport.
Uh, just remember, let me just see that. 6:16.
41 Prabhuji. Bhagavad Dharma के. Chitraketu Maharaj is offering his prayers to Sankarshana, and
Hmm,
in that purports, Prabhupada is writing all this about Bhagavad Dharma.
31.
क्या Prabhuji?
6:16, 31 or 41, Prabhu?
41,
Which
41,
one?
660.
41.
41.
Being full of contradictions, all form of religion, but Bhagavad Dharma work under the conceptions of fruitive results and distinctions of you and I, yours and mine. The followers of Srimad Bhagavatam have no such consciousness. Hmm. Oh, this one. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, we can have that discussion someday, bro. Yes, quite an elaborate purport. See, bro, Bhagavad Dharma, is like complete transcendence. No trace of materialism there. See, Bhagavad Dharma is not a concocted sectarian belief, for it entails research to find out how everything is connected with Krishna. Ishavasyam idam sarvam.
Hmm.
So you see, Prabhu, now you're seeing, for example, all this we are talking about politics and philanthropy in ISKCON today. This is just like a complete deviation from what we are reading here.
Correct.
See, and it happens very gradually, Prabhu. It's not that anyone just falls down immediately. Fall down is a very slow process. One becomes slowly attracted to material energy, philanthropy, sectarianism. This gradually becomes attractive. And then before one realizes, one is already deep in Maya. One starts thinking, okay, this is nice. Hindus are like, we are a Hindu sect. We need protection. Muslims are dangerous. Actually, all this is nonsense. All this is complete nonsense. Where is the question of surrender if we are talking about taking shelter of some materialistic organization to protect us? And like once in a while, like Prabhupada also said that, oh, when Prabhupada met some Sikhs in Amritsar, Prabhupada said, oh, you are Kshatriyas, it is your duty to protect us. We are Vaishnavas, we seek your shelter. Prabhupada said like this. But actually, we depend only on Krishna. Even a Kshatriya can only protect us when Krishna so desires. So once in a while, we can say that, we can do that. But if we make that an agenda or a policy, that such and such political party will protect us, or so and so people will protect us, they are dangerous, then we are slowly somewhere down the line losing the shelter of Krishna. Then Krishna will say, okay, now you have made your own arrangements. You don't need me. So, why do you need my protection then? You have your political parties to protect you. If they protect you, well and good. If they don't protect you, well, too bad. Like once I was just many days ago, I was hearing this lecture of Premanand Maharaj. He says the same thing. He says, don't take anxiety for your protection. Let Krishna take that anxiety. Because if you start taking anxiety, then Krishna will stop taking that anxiety. Then Krishna will see, oh yes, he's protecting himself. He doesn't need my shelter. The six Goswamis were living in Vrindavan at a time when there was, like, it was a jungle. There were dacoits and other things also. But they were never bothered. So they were never bothered about anything because they knew that Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. It's very difficult, but one has to try.
So, Prabhuji, in our present day, so
Hmm.
Srila Prabhupada will be called as instructing spiritual master or initiating spiritual master.
Who?
In our present day ISKCON,
Hmm.
Srila Prabhupada
See,
will be called as a Shiksha Guru or a Diksha Guru or both.
actually, he's both. Diksha is his, Shiksha is also his only. See, let me put it very bluntly, Prabhu. One is called an Acharya when one has his own Siddhant. So even though Srila Prabhupada is completely giving the credit to Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada has his own Siddhant also. That's why he's called Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarane. Essentially, all Vaishnava Siddhant is one only. There is no change between Sri Vaishnava or Nimbarka Sampradaya or other Sampradayas. Essentially, the Siddhant is same, but there are subtleties, there are nuances. So Srila Prabhupada has also created his Siddhant in such a manner that it delivers the most fallen. If you try to understand the lectures of Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur, they are on a very high plane. But if you try to understand lectures of Srila Prabhupada, they're very simple, they're very easy to understand. So that is Siddhant. And none of us are capable of doing that because someone who is in communion with Krishna alone can do that. Krishna Shakti bina nahi tare pravartan.
So,
So if you see, for example, even in the West now, everywhere the devotees are only Indians. You won't find German Vaishnavas or American Vaishnavas or in Silicon Valley there are Indians, in New York there are Indians, in Finland there are Indians, in Sweden there are Indians. So where is Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine? Acharya must have that capacity to transform. Srila Prabhupada did that. But that's not happening anymore because preaching in the West is a very, very difficult task. Extremely difficult task. But Prabhupada did it. So Prabhupada did have his own Siddhant for cultivating this type of crowd. So that is the Siddhant we are following. So we can at best be gurus, but not Acharya.
So, like you mentioned, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is an Acharya, then followed by Bhakti Vinod Thakur is an Acharya, followed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, also an Acharya, Srila Prabhupada is an so, and they have their own Siddhant you were mentioning. So, what is the
Yes.
slight difference between the Siddhant put forward by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is a and Srila Prabhupada, like they are actually guru and disciple. So,
Hmm. Nice question. Very nice question, Prabhu. So, I mean, I know I'll sound a bit heretical here and it could, sound very gross. But, Prabhu, there is a subtle difference. Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur was preaching to the crowd which had sanskaras. Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur was speaking a very esoteric truth. Srila Prabhupada, on the other hand, has simplified the teachings of Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur. So you can say that Srila Prabhupada has a sub-siddhant in that sense. Srila Prabhupada connected everything to Krishna directly, like Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur did. It's not a different siddhant. It's in the same line. You can say it's a subset of the same siddhant. Srila Bhakti Siddhant Saraswati Thakur revealed some very esoteric truths. You will find them in Brahma Samhita, because that was the only book that Srila Prabhupada allowed us to study. He said that other books are beyond your understanding, and you can see that because Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about some very complex spiritual matters. Even Brahma Samhita is a bit difficult to understand. But Srila Prabhupada has simplified all the scriptures. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction. These 5 books he has given, which will clear the entire Vaishnava Siddhant. From ABC to Z. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur spoke from, maybe, STUV, XYZ. Srila Prabhupada started from ABC. So in a way, you can call it Srila Prabhupada's own Siddhant. That's why he's called founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Why would Srila Prabhupada call himself founder Acharya? Every Acharya, technical definition of Acharya is one who introduces a Siddhant. So if you see Srila Prabhupada, in that sense, has introduced a Siddhant of fixed number of chanting of holy names, fixed amount of study, and a very rigorous setup for propagation. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur introduced the principles, but Srila Prabhupada introduced the strict rules and which were successful. So in a way that can be called Srila Prabhupada's own Siddhanta. But having a Srila Prabhupada's own Siddhanta doesn't mean that he's contradicting Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Like Ramanujacharya or Madhvacharya contradicted Shankaracharya. But Prabhupada's Siddhanta has no contradiction to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Siddhanta. They are like it's a subset, you can say, applied to the more general public, not just to the intellectual, very intellectual class.
yes. So, when we say the word Siddhant, so what is the subject matter the word Siddhant covers? That means, is it a
See,
set of rules and regulations and system, or it is the concept of God and soul? That is what is covered under Siddhant. So, what is exactly Siddhant? This is something which is very
Siddhant
intriguing
is a
from
very,
very initial years. Also, it is
yeah.
very intriguing, and I'm not finding the answer correctly. I find it like a big umbrella under so many things.
So, okay. So if we have to put it in very simple language, Prabhu, we can probably say that the principle, let's use the word principle, which is closest to the word Siddhanta. In our case, Siddhanta means the process by which one attains Krishna, the process of attaining Krishna.
Siddhant is the process of, okay.
Yeah, it's a principle, it's a process. Siddhant includes everything. Siddhanta is like principle is a very small word for Siddhant.
Because principle is something very concise word. Siddhant
Yeah,
seems to be encompassing many things.
yeah, Siddhant is a like an all-encompassing kind of a term.
So like when we say when we hear like oh a soul is actually a servant, and he is
Hmm.
actually a servant of the servant of his master, that is a super soul. So I feel like this is Siddhant. So I don't know like if this is Siddhant or what else is Siddhant like.
Hmm.
I feel I don't know that I'm asking you like the axioms are there. So the axioms are
Ah,
Siddhant or the process is Siddhant.
everything, Prabhu. Everything. Like the whole, I mean, if we use the word process would be a more correct word, I would say. The whole process by which one attains Krishna. It involves activities, it involves, you know, uh, reading material, everything.
Okay, bro.
Because we live also according to that principle. That is also Siddhanta.
Hmm. Okay, bro. Trying to understand. Yeah.
I think it's 10 p.m. now in India, Prabhu. Maybe we should stop now. Prabhuji would also be very tired.
Okay, Prabhuji. No problem. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.